Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, a show every single week on this channel where we just geek out about comic books. And you know, coming up this weekend, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 finally hits theaters here in America. It is predicted to be the biggest release of the year, and I will indeed be having a review and a spoiler discussion of that like I do with all major geeky films. You can check that out coming up this weekend on the movie review show on this channel. But this is not the movie review show. This is Comic Class. Like I said, it's the show where we just geek out about comic books. But luckily, today, hitting your local comic book store is a brand new Guardians of the Galaxy series, and I am going to be giving you my review of that today. Not that one. Not that one either. That's the one. Yay! We have a wealth of Guardians books coming out today. Okay, Marvel, listen, I know what you're trying to do. I know that you think, hey man, Guardians of the Galaxy, it's coming out, it's gonna be huge. People go see Guardians of the Galaxy, then they go, you know what, I want to read about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm gonna go to my local comic book store and pick up a copy of Guardians. But you think everybody's going to pick up all the Guardians. They're going to go in there and see 3 Guardians books, each with multiple covers, and they're just going to buy all of them. I can tell you as someone who works in a comic book store, yes, when a big movie comes out, people will come into the comic book store and go, you know what, I just saw that, I liked it, I want to read something about that. That happens all the time. They do not pick up everything though. They pick up one thing. This book that we were talking about today is the brand new ongoing Guardians of the Galaxy series. It is the official canonical one that is happening in the main Marvel universe. It is the ongoing Guardian series from this point forward. The other ones are a one-shot and a mini-series. Marvel, this is the one you want to promote. This is the one you want to make big. This is the one you want to get all your followers behind so that they can continue to read it going on from this point forward. By releasing 3 different Guardian things today on the week this film comes out, you didn't ensure that this book is going to succeed greatly. You just ensured that its sales will now be divided 3 ways. Sorry. I've been doing nothing over the past couple of weeks aside from just complaining about Marvel's business strategy, so it's kind of a hard habit to break, but we are not here to bury Marvel, but to celebrate it, because, I'll be totally honest with you, just gonna go ahead and spoil my review right now. I actually really like this issue, and I am so happy to say that because it has been a long time since I've been able to say that about Guardians book. Not since the Abnett and Landon Guardian series have I really been able to go, man, the Guardians of the Galaxy are a great series. And granted, I have no idea where this book is going, but the main thing that I can say about this Guardians of the Galaxy series is it's indeed going somewhere. That was my biggest problem with the Brian Michael Bendis Guardians of the Galaxy series, is that there was just kind of like no point to it. The point of that book was whatever that issue was about. And here's the thing, you kind of need a big overarching story, and this book didn't have anything going for it. I will get into the brand new Guardian series, but I just have to go ahead and say this one last time about the Brian Michael Bendis Guardians of the Galaxy series, is that he wanted to go in there and have fun. And that is the best thing that I can say about that book. You could tell Brian Michael Bendis was having a blast on that book. But plot threads were being dropped left and right. Stuff never got answered. They just went over and did something. They would build up hype for something and they would all be resolved instantly because he wanted to move on to the next thing. It was the most sporadic, all over the place book. When it wrapped up, I just read it and was like, wait, was this what all this was leading up to? What was this about again? Was there a point to any of this? Or was it just, hey kids, check out Rocket in a book this week? Was that the only reason for that book? This one I read, I went, you know what? Something is happening in this book. And I am so happy to say that because Jerry Duggan is working on this book. And Jerry Duggan at the moment, he's kind of batting 1,000. I haven't loved everything that he's done, but I have eventually ended up liking everything that he has done. I thought that his Nova series was actually great. It actually captured a lot of stuff that I loved about young teenage superheroes. In fact, it reminded me about a lot of stuff that I loved about Spider-Man when I was reading him when I was growing up. And his Deadpool has been shockingly good. I am always kind of hot and cold on Deadpool. His Deadpool has been hot. That book has been fantastic. And when he started writing Uncanny Avengers, listen, I'll admit to you, I had high hopes for that book, but when I started reading it, I was like, oh, this is not that great. This is not what I was hoping for. But I decided to stick with it, and I am so glad that I did, because wow, did that end up turning into a really good book. All the stuff they did with Ultron, the stuff they did with the Hand and the Hulk, and the stuff that he did in the most recent storyline involving the Red Skull and then finally getting Professor X's brain out of him. Holy cow! That was a fantastic storyline, and it really, despite the fact that it does not resemble a classic Avengers team in any way, shape, or form, it has ended up becoming something that really captures that spirit of the Avengers that I loved when I was reading them as a kid. This actually has become, over the past 6 to 8 months, the best Avengers and X-Men book out there at the moment. Granted, if you have seen the X-Men and Avengers books that have been out there over the past 6 to 8 months, there hasn't really been a big competition in that department, but still, it has been actually a ton of fun, and I'm glad that I stuck with it. So as I said, Jerry Duggan is one of those guys who I trust, but I went into this kind of thinking, you know what, like I said, I had a lot of hopes for Uncanny Avengers, but it took a long time for that book to get good. This one's good right off the bat. And a lot of that has to do with Aaron Kuder, who is the artist. Before he came over to Marvel, he was working for DC on Action Comics, and I loved his Action Comics. That's where I first became aware of him. But when I see him on this book, it makes me realize this is where he needs to be, because he is a very imaginative artist. He needs to be on a book where he is allowed to just go off. This book is set in space with tons of crazy stuff happening on every page, and he is the perfect artist to capture that. I mean, this whole book starts off with the Guardians storming this giant bank plant. It's a plant where all the billionaires in space store all their money, and they storm it by having Galactus come down, and everybody starts freaking out and trying to get off the plant, but then it's revealed Galactus is actually just a mech that Rocket Raccoon is piloting. I was like, this is really creative. And you know why it's creative? Because the artist and the writer were working together on this. You can tell these two guys came together and was like, I got a really crazy idea of something to do. Can you draw it? I can totally draw it. Can you write it? I can write it. They came together, man. This is a book where the artist and the writer know exactly what each of them are capable of. I'm not going to spoil the big surprise of what happens halfway through this storyline, but they end up meeting this very big, important figure in the Marvel Universe. You're going to see him very soon in an upcoming Marvel film. But you see his secret location and all the stuff he's surrounded by, and I was just blown away, and I was like, did Jerry Duggan come up with this crazy idea? Or did he just tell Aaron Kuder, draw something crazy, and here's the general setting of it? Again, it's one of those things where both the writer and the artist are being so creative at the same time. I don't know who to give credit to, but I feel like they both equally deserve it. Now you might be saying, is there anything about this Guardian series that makes it stand out from the previous series? Is there anything about it that makes it unique? Well, the thing that makes this one different than any Guardians that we've seen before is that these Guardians are damaged. And don't get me wrong, the Guardians have always been a group of damaged individuals, but what I'm saying is that we find each of the members of the Guardians at this moment kinda at their lowest. Something has gone wrong with each of them. Peter Quill is the only one who kinda has his act together right now, and they do indeed make a joke in here about how frightening it is to think that he has his act together right now compared to the rest of them. For example, Drax, who was always the Destroyer, he has taken on a path of pacifism. He says that something happened and it has made him never want to attack anyone again. This has me excited for two reasons. One, what the heck could be the reason that Drax, the Destroyer, has decided to become a pacifist? And two, you know that ain't gonna last. You know they're gonna keep that going for a long time, and I trust Jerry Duggan to write some really funny dialogue, so I fully believe that he can write some great hilarious dialogue with Drax the Destroyer becoming a pacifist. But you also know every single issue of him being a pacifist is just going to build up and build up and build up to that point where he becomes the Destroyer again, and then it will just be Drax going off. So, I'm really hoping that this isn't like a 6-issue storyline and by the end of it he's back to being Drax the Destroyer. I'm hoping Jerry Duggan has like a 25-issue long storyline planned out, and at the end of it, that's when Drax comes back, because that will be a huge moment if he can hold it out that long. Also, I will say this about the way that he writes Drax. I kind of had a problem with the way that Brian Michael Bendis wrote Drax the Destroyer, because he wrote him kind of to please the movie-going audience. He wrote him kind of just to be the big dumb guy who just wants to stab stuff, and I was a fan of the Abnett and Landing Guardians of the Galaxy series, where he was more of a cold, calculating killing machine, where he actually could think, and he actually was like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there and I will take everything down piece by piece because I'm just that good at what I do, not just the guy who goes in there wanting to punch stuff really, really hard. In this, when I saw he was going to be a pacifist, I was like, okay, the jokes are gonna be kind of just basic, oh, I'm Destroyer, but I don't want to destroy anymore. No, Drax is actually talking in full sentences. He is actually thinking about his words. Drax actually seems semi-intelligent, the way that he did in the Abnett and Landing run. So, granted, I don't know where this is going to go, but just seeing Drax being able to form complete sentences again made me really happy. And as for the changes that we're seeing in the rest of the team, we've got Gamora, who I can't really say what has happened to her because it's a bit of a secret, and if I tell you the bits of information that we know right now, it would kind of spoil the big mystery guest who pops up halfway through this. But let's just say she's got some kind of a mystery thing going on, and Rocket is currently being hunted by assassins, which honestly, that's not that unusual for Rocket. But Groot is stuck as Baby Groot. And listen, let's be totally honest, they're doing that because Baby Groot is going to be in the movie, and Baby Groot is going to sell a crud ton of toys. So they want to get that into the comics. Fine, I understand that. I get how the sausage is made. If this is what's going to sell the book, I understand you doing that. But what I'm loving, and what really gives me hope for this run and makes me have faith in Jerry Duggan as a writer, is that they didn't just do it to make Groot cute. They didn't just do it because, oh my goodness, he's gonna be that way in the movie, we gotta make him all adorable in the comic as well. No, there is a big mystery behind why he is this way, and they're not really treating it like it's cute. Like, you can kind of tell in here, Rocket is really disturbed and really upset that his friend is now stuck at being that big, and you get a hint of what it is that's causing him to be so small on the very final page. And I will not say anything, I will not spoil this for you, but I did have to sit there and go, that's pretty damn good. That's actually pretty darn good, and I really want to see what is going to come from that. This is one of the strongest first issues I have seen from Marvel that was meant to be a strong first issue. I know that is a very weird sense to say, because shouldn't all first issues be really strong? Listen, as I point out in a couple of recent videos, one of Marvel's problems is that they try really hard to push some books and then don't really care about some other ones. And I've noticed over the past couple of years, a lot of the ones that they try really hard to push, kind of like, ah, okay, that's fine, whatever, I don't really care. But then a lot of the ones that they pay no attention to at all, those are the ones that oftentimes I will look at the first issue and go, damn, this is something special. This is the first time in a while that those two things are lining up perfectly. This is the first time in a while which I've been able to say, Marvel really wants me to read this book, and you know something? I kind of want to read it too. And another thing that really surprises me about this issue is that, as I said, I was a huge fan of the Abnett and Landing Guardians of the Galaxy series, and for anybody out there who's like, well, I've seen the movies, would I like the Abnett and Landing stuff? You probably would, but not for the same reasons you would like the movies. The movies, completely different from the Abnett and Landing stuff. Not at all the same. This book, I read and I went, this actually would be pretty darn good for the people who don't know the Guardians in the comics, but they know them from the films. This actually would line up with you guys pretty darn well. I think you would be able to jump into it, and it's been a long time since I have looked at Marvel doing something to try and make it more like the movies and been able to go, actually that works. That's pretty darn good. So yeah, this one, it was kind of just an all-around winner for me. I just really think it worked on almost every level. Don't get me wrong, not saying it's perfect, not saying that it's the best book I've read all year. I'm just saying, you know what? It was fun and succeeded in some places where I thought was going to fail. It is one of those books that I'm not going to come in here and say, you must read this. It was jaw-droppingly good. However, if you're going to your local comic book store and you have $4 extra in your pocket, go ahead, check it out. If you just saw the Guardians of the Galaxy movie and you thought, you know what? I might want to read a Guardians book. Go for it. this one will work perfectly for you, especially if you want to start getting into comics, especially if you want to start reading a Guardian series ongoing and see some big story play out with them, because that's the sense that I got from this book, is that Jerry Duggan did not plan 6 issues. He planned 25. So I'm really hoping that Marvel will step back and go, Jerry, you got this, tell your story. Because this first issue made me go, there is a story here, and I want to see what it is. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this issue. Also, let me know what you thought about the Abnett Landing run. Let me know what you thought about the Brian Michael Bendis run. Let me know what you thought about any of the other Guardians movies, comics, not movies. That's going to be this weekend. Let me know what you thought about the Guardian movie this weekend. Let me know what you thought about the Guardian comics down below. Thank you guys for watching. I've been talking for a long period of time, and I'm starting to get all my words jumbled. So I'm just going to wrap up now by saying if you want to see more from me, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and also follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. Thanks again, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.